So Square just graced us with the collection of mana for the Nintendo Switch, and a lot of people are overjoyed. Currently, it's only available digital on the Switch for $39.99, but it will be released physically in August. I think it's a limited run of the game, so pre-order it if you really want it, because who knows for sure, but it's going to be the same price. I pre-ordered mine on Best Buy. Cannot wait, but people are really excited for this because we finally get Seiken Densetsu 3 officially translated into English, and that is amazing. A lot of people never thought we would get this game, but even more amazing is that some crafty people out there figured out how to get the actual game ROM off of the Nintendo Switch and load it up to be able to be played how it originally would have been played on our Super Nintendos. So this is really awesome. We're going to take a look at that in a moment because I am playing this on my Super Nintendo. But before we jump into that, let's just take a look. With the collection of mana, you're getting Final Fantasy Adventure, Secret of Mana, and then Trials of Mana. I always found this interesting because Final Fantasy Adventure, I love this game. I played the crap out of it, woohoo, back in the day. And I believe with this being the first Secret of Mana game or the first Mana game, they didn't call it that because we weren't really aware of the franchise, and Final Fantasy was more of a popular name in the West. So that's why we got Final Fantasy Adventure. They did the same thing with the Saga games on the Game Boy. They called them Final Fantasy Legend or Legends, whatever it was called. I played those as well. Those were Saga games. But yeah, really enjoyed that game. And then in 93, we got our first Secret of Mana game. And then, time goes by, and I remember hearing about a sequel to Secret of Mana. And it was like, what? And it was so much talk out there. But then at the same time, I remember reading, I just went through a ton of Nintendo Power issues. I do have, the Secret of Mana issue. There's a lot of issues of Nintendo Power that talks about Secret of Mana. It's really fun rereading that stuff. But I have in a box somewhere this particular issue we're going to take a look at. It's issue number 79. And I remember reading this way back in the day. I believe this issue was from 95 or so. It came out a few months after Seiken Densetsu 3 was launched in Japan, and it did talk about the possibility of it coming to the US. And I remember reading this and just being annoyed. I was a little sad, man, but going through this, and I love, I do have tons of Nintendo Power magazines. Like I said, I know I have this issue, but I can't find it. It's in a box, and I just can't dig through everything at the moment. But I do dig looking through issues on archive.org. They have like the first 27 issues, maybe not 27, 127, 145 issues to look at. But in here, I'm going to skip ahead to where they talk about this and where, my sadness originally came, because I really loved Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo, like a lot of people have, and really enjoyed it. It's one of those games that it remained in the top lists in Nintendo Power forever. It was always in like the top 20, and so many people enjoyed it. I remember everybody talking about this game back in the day. But here we go, Epic Center. This is the page I would always skip to. I read through every single page of Nintendo Power, but since I really loved role-playing games back at that time, and I still do, I would always skip here to see what's going on and then go back through the whole magazine. But they did mention here Secret of Mana 2, and unfortunately, it did kind of bring a little tear to my eyes back in the day. But let's zoom in. So right over here, where they're talking about Squaresoft and Enix, they do mention it down here. So they say the most anticipated new titles due to be released this fall continue to be Dragon Quest VI from Enix, scheduled for a December release. Which, did that ever happen? Not in the US. What? Not at that time anyway. And Romancing Saga 3 from Square, which was scheduled to be released in November. The hottest Epic games being played right now, according to our sources in Japan, are Secret of Mana 3 and Tactics Ogre. According to Squaresoft in the US, it isn't likely that Secret of Mana 3 or Mana 2, as it would be numbered here, because remember, all the numbers were crazy back in the day. Nothing lined up. Will ever make it to the Western world. That was very sad to read. The trouble is of a technical nature, and the cost may be prohibitive. So I know it took, people a long time to do the fan translation of this game. And, role-playing games, even, even now, I mean, they're so text heavy. If you're not like doing dual development, which a lot of companies do now, back in the day, they didn't do that because who knew for sure if these games would sell, in the US or in the West. It was a prime time for Japanese role-playing games back then, but it did take a lot of effort and time and money to translate these games to do certain things to make sure it was ready for the Western world. And that really sucked. There's so many role-playing games and stuff like that we did not get because of that, because of, maybe waning interest as well. With this game being a later release for the Super Nintendo as well, there were other systems that were coming out that were more powerful. A lot of people were dedicating time to those. There's an issue, I got to find that one too, where you saw the 3D images of Final Fantasy when they're talking about the Ultra 64, the Nintendo 64. And I remember seeing that and being like, oh my God, I can't wait for Final Fantasy on the Nintendo 64. And then it never happened, So development for a lot of other things was changing at the time. And with this being so late, they weren't going to spend the money, but they finally did. And I'm grateful. I know a lot of people are. So, like I said, we could play this on our Super Nintendo, and I'm going to show you real quick. I do have this loaded up on my Super NT, actually, on my SD2 SNES Pro. I'll show you. Let's go ahead and reset. Hit that reset button, and here she is. This is the new version of the ROM because when it loads up, it does have the Trials of Mana logo. So I'm just amazed, that people are able to extract things and do these kind of things. I'm not in the Nintendo Switch hacking scene, but man, I'm buying the game. I got the pre-order in for the physical version. I don't feel bad about this, you know what I'm saying? But hey, this is definitely cool. It does raise a question of, there's going to be a lot of people out there trying to make repros of this game and selling it. And it's kind of a thing. I understand people being against that. It's inevitable to happen. There's going to be people who they want to make that money, and it's definitely going to be a quick buck for a lot of people. But at the same time, I would be very wary if you're a repro maker, because this being a very new ROM being released for money, these guys wants to get paid. They did translate this into German, French, Spanish, English. So, there's some effort behind this, and it's definitely sweet to see. They got my money. I'm getting that physical edition, but I really found it awesome to be able to play this on original hardware or the Super NT or any device that you could play repros or use the flash cart on. So I have played this in the past, the fan translated version. Never really jumped into it, but now that the official translated one is out, I definitely am, desiring to play this. Like I said, I have it loaded up, but who knows, man? Maybe I'll jump into this now. Maybe I'll wait for the Switch version to come out for, the physical edition. If I know a physical edition's coming out and they have it digital, I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait on the physical version. But hey, to me, this is almost like a pre-order bonus. I get to play it now, but I'll definitely play it on the Switch. But man, this is so beautiful, especially on the Super NT. Seeing these Mode 7 map graphics, this stuff is just, it is really exciting to me. Loved Squaresoft back in the 90s. I still do, but some of their games just don't grab me the same way, like Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 2 and 3, Final Fantasy Tactics, all this stuff on the PlayStation, the PlayStation 1, the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation 2. I think, I really loved Final Fantasy 10 and 11. I played the crap out of 11. But besides that, I haven't really been deeply into a lot of their titles. I know they've made a lot of awesome games, don't get me wrong, but I still just, the golden era for me was those early 90s to, early 2000s. And just seeing this and having them officially translated. I'm sure there's going to be issues where people prefer the fan translation versus the official translation. And I'm sure there's going to be differences. I'll look into that later. But at this time, I mean, I'm not even paying attention to this game. I'm sitting here getting my ass handed to me. Didn't even know it started. But it's just really cool for them to finally do this. You know, they released this collection in Japan, which was a given. The games were already out in Japan, right? So it was a surprise to see this coming. I know there was some precursors, the copyright or the trademark or whatever being written or being out there. So people kind of figured it was happening. But yeah, definitely enjoying this. Let me know what you think. Join my Facebook group. You guys know what's up. Really do appreciate you guys hanging out with me on this, me getting killed here because I'm not paying attention to the game and I'm just mashing buttons. But I don't care. It works. I'm going to start playing this for a minute where I can actually pay attention to it. But thank you. And with that said, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out, bye-bye, and boom. Bye.